take everybody through the scheduler, be able to see what we've done, the changes that we've made, and he'll speak a little bit about the direction going forward with our scheduler. But people on the call today have varying history and or amount of time they've actually used the product, from folks who've been involved with DockMaster now for 20 years, and some folks who have just been using DockMaster now for less than a year. So I thought I'd give everybody a little bit of a historical perspective as to how we got to where we are today. In the early days of DockMaster, we actually had a product called Shop Floor. So we've actually had four different, if you will, or really three, major incarnations of the scheduler. First one was called Shop Floor. It was back in the character-based version of DockMaster, way back even before my time. What we got from feedback from our clients on that product was that it had a lot of features, but the product was very, very rigid. And if you didn't use the Shop Floor application exactly how it was designed, it really wouldn't work for you. When I got involved with the DockMaster business back in the 2003 timeframe, we actually rewrote the product into the first version of our Windows platform called 6.x, for those of you who might remember that. And the first work order scheduler came out in 6.x, and the intention of that version of the work order scheduler was to effectively turn it into more sort of like an electronic grease board, so that the calendars and the schedules that are used in a lot of our service shops and service bays and boat yards across the country could actually be implemented on screen. We did okay on the flexibility side, but the problem with that particular version of our product was that the views were not usable across all different types of businesses, from small service companies to very, very large boat yards with 10 to 50 technicians. Then we actually did a rewrite of DockMaster into the new bb.net platform, which is what we're on today. So whether you're using DockMaster in a hosted environment or whether you're actually using DockMaster installed at your marina or boat yard, you're actually using our bb.net product. And that technology took the scheduler available in the 6X product and brought it over. And we had some challenges with that particular product because we pulled it into the new environment. We added a timeline view and we added a month view, but the product really needed to get feedback from clients. We needed to effectively hear what our customers are saying about what their needs are. And we finally took that initiative on about 9 months ago. And we learned pretty quickly that trying to design a scheduler effectively in a box, so to speak, without getting a lot of customer feedback was not going to be an effective way of doing it. We had a couple of customer advisory board meetings, which means we brought customers together. We talked about how the scheduler should look, what it should do, people liked and just didn't like about it. But the problem is that we needed to go to more of an iterative process to really ensure that we build a scheduler that our customers are going to be able to utilize. And what that means is that we needed to bring forward different views, different features, different ways the scheduler would work, and literally just put it out there for clients to start using. Because it's really, really hard to sort of think about how a product should work in a vacuum, or using a whiteboard, or trying to compare it to a different software product. You really need to kind of get into it and use it and see what's going to work and not work in a day-to-day basis. So we made the decision in the last release of DockMaster to actually put the scheduler out there, even though we knew it was not fully completed yet. We knew there was going to be problems. But we wanted clients to get access to it, to start using it, and to start playing around with it so we can get real quality feedback back from our customers. And we've gotten a lot of good feedback so far. In the most recent version of the scheduler, we actually improved the day view, the week view, and the timeline view. We've given you a couple of different ways that you can actually view how both the jobs and the technicians appear on the screen. Those are things Aaron's going to take you all through here in 1 minute. The one thing I did want to mention as of right now is the best way to actually get feedback to us after this call is over is going to be able to actually post your thoughts and ideas and viewpoints on what we call the Ideas portal. And those of you who are not already using our Ideas portal, if you don't have access to it already, all you got to do is send an email to ideas@dockmaster.com, and we'll get you signed up for it. But the great thing about the Ideas portal is actually it allows you to view the ideas and comments that are published by other users. And you can actually vote on other people's ideas. And we've got an idea out there as it relates to the scheduler, and a lot of comments and a lot of feedback going into this idea on this portal. And it's being monitored on a daily basis, and it is the best way that we can actually get feedback from you guys in terms of what it is that's needed out there in the field. But without any further ado, I thought I'd go ahead and turn the meeting over to Aaron now and let him show you our new scheduler.
Thanks, Cam. As Cam said, my name is Aaron Sachs. I'm part of the Pro Service team. On the screen is a view of our ideas portal, so you can see those ideas that are out there. Besides just the service scheduler ideas, there are ideas out there for a lot of other things that you can browse through and add your ideas about how you would like to see DockMaster improve and become a better tool for you. Here is the service scheduler in the day view, which Cam talked about, and we're going to go through the different views and the different functions and some of the new improvements. We'll probably spend about 40 minutes or so. To get started with the service scheduler, if you haven't used it yet in the old DockMaster version of Service Scheduler, there are some things that you're going to want to set up within the Service Scheduler. And to do that, you're going to be going to the System Administration menu and into the configurations and look at service schedule. In the service schedule, you can drop down your years. You can configure this year's and next year's. So I'm just going to choose 2019. The first is the default technician. Once scheduling an appointment, if you want to default an appointment, an operation that you're scheduling, you are scheduling opcodes. You are not scheduling entire work orders. But when you are scheduling that operation, if you just want to have a default tech always pop up, you can go ahead and enter that in here. In my case, I'm going to be manually always selecting the technician that I want, so I'm going to leave it blank. Dropping on down below the default tech are the days, the work days and holidays that you normally work. So you can check mark the days that are your ordinary work days, in my case, Monday through Friday, as well as any holidays that might be coming up. So we could say something like 4/15 is tax day, and we're going to give everybody that day off, and we don't want to schedule any work for that. What happens is if you try to schedule an operation for either a unusual work day or a holiday that you've defined, it's going to pop up and say to you, hey, these are not usual work days. Do you wish to still schedule it, or do you want to put it on a different day? And if you say yes, it will schedule it for the day. And if you say no, it will bump it to the next available workday. And then the last thing that you're going to want to set up on the service calendar setup is the labels, the color code labels. These are optional if you wish to use, and you can define these labels and these colors to mean whatever best suits your business organization. To set a label, you can just drop down and choose from one of the theme colors, or you can choose more colors and really choose whatever particular color you happen to like, and then add your label of what you want to call it. And so when you look at the view, you'll be able to quickly see by what colors they are, maybe what type of work they are, or what reason it is scheduled, however you might be organizing. So that's the service schedule. The other thing that you're going to want to set up is you're going to want to set up under security clerk maintenance. Now, one of the views that you can do is by the clerk. So maybe the clerk that you are logged in, or maybe another clerk ID. This can be used in a number of different ways. You may have two managers that are managing two sets of different technicians. They might be yard technicians, yard guys that are working in the yard, moving stuff around, bottom painting, and then you might have those mechanical technicians that are swinging wrenches. So if you have two separate managers that are managing those separate technicians, you can come in here onto their clerk ID file that they log in on and define the technicians that they are responsible for. So here you can see I've defined myself as those technicians that I'm responsible for. Other ways that you could use this is coming in here and maybe creating a clerk that is location 1. If you're a multi-location company, you might want to say, okay, location 1 clerks are these, location 2 clerks are these sets. And in the schedule calendar, you'll see how we'll be able to use this clerk ID as a manager ID and limit the clerks that we see in our view. So it gives you a way to limit those clerks to only see those clerks, or I should say those technicians that are important to you. So that's how you're going to want to maybe set up your technicians if you wish to use that functionality. Close down. So let's take a look at the service schedule. You get the service schedule by going to Service Management, Service Schedule. And you can see here the schedule is going to open up. It's going to open up in the day view, and it's going to open up as viewing your technicians that are assigned to you as your name. So it's kind of important to have that set up that way. Just a couple little tips. We'll want to maybe maximize DockMaster to get the most information on the screen as possible. And this sidebar over to the left with a menu, as you may not know, but you can actually move this sidebar. So you can move this sidebar to minimize the menu choices and give you more real estate here for your service schedule. In the upper right-hand corner, we're able to view the time scale. So we are currently on a day view, and we're seeing today's view. We can choose a week view. The week view runs Sunday through Saturday. And we can also switch to a timeline view. A timeline view is going to give us 30 days of the next 30 days to view in the timeline view. In all these views, let's just go back to the day view, we can move forward in the case of a day view by using the arrow keys in the upper right hand or bottom right hand corners, backwards, left and right corners. And in a week view, we would advance a week at a time. And in the timeline view, we're going to actually advance 2 weeks at a time. Now, if you're in any of the views and you need to get back to today, you can always right-click in the open area and go to today, and that will bring us back to the day that you're on. You'll notice today's date will be highlighted in purple here in the upper left-hand corner. You can see that on this particular view. And the day that I'm currently selected in this case, is Wednesday the 1st, and I'm selected for Bobby Bottom. On the left-hand side here is the columns showing the technicians and their technician IDs. If we look at it in a week view, we will see, let's go back to today, we will see the week hours that are scheduled for each technician for the entire week. And if we were to go down into a day view, we will see at the top the technicians' names and their numbers, how many jobs are scheduled for that day, and how many hours are scheduled for a particular job, and the total number of hours for that job. Hovering over any of these will give you additional information. So if we go back to the timeline view, hovering over a particular one will give me more detailed information, so I can read here exactly the customer as well as the boat information, the operation, and the work order that is scheduled. In a timeline view, if I want to get into more detail and I like this particular view, we do have the ability to right click and choose the zoom in option. Notice that sometimes the data will scroll over, so you will need to use the scroll bars that are located at the bottom of the screen or maybe at the side of the screen. And here you can see we are in really a timeline day view here. And so I have my Wednesday that we're just looking at Wednesday, and we're just looking at the times for Wednesday. So we've zoomed in that same timeline view, but just for Wednesday. You are able in this day view, in the timeline view, to come and click and drag an appointment out longer and or maneuver the appointments around in the timeline view. That will also function as well in the day view. So if I go back to the day view, you'll notice that I can take this particular appointment and I can click and hold and drag it, as well as coming to the bottom of the box and making the appointment longer or shorter, depending on what I need to do. In any of the views, let's take a look at, let's say, a week view. If you wish to move any of the appointments around, you can click. So let's say, for example, that we know for a fact that yesterday that these two jobs that Cappy was working on did not get done and I need to move them. I can click, drag, and drop them onto the new day. Now note that there is no limit set here. So the system is not smart in the sense that it says, hey, you're overbooking this guy for his normal work day, or it's not going to move appointments around to fit appointments in. It will allow you to double book appointments, and it will allow you to overbook a particular tech. So we give you that flexibility to do that. Now maybe I come into this, selecting the day and choose the day view, and I can come in here and manipulate these back. Looks like I didn't. The one thing to note is you will want to save this as you move around. The more you save it, the better off you are in the upper left-hand corner. And you can see here, I am double booked for this particular technician, 4 hours in the morning for one job and 5 hours for another job. But I may now want to just go ahead and reorganize these. I can move it and do something like that and make the fit into the schedule. And now I've just cleaned that up. So you have that flexibility to move around as you need. Going back to the week view, if I take on a particular appointment and I drag it, and I'm going to drop it on the 11th. If you remember from my setup, the 11th was National Pet Day, and I've given everybody the day off to go enjoy time with their pet. And so here pops up that warning that's letting me know that I'm scheduling work on a non-usual day. And it's a holiday in this case. And it asks if I wish to schedule it or not. If I say yes, it will schedule it and make it a scheduled appointment similar to the one up top. Or if I say no, it will automatically schedule it for the next available workday. Again, not taking into account anything about overbooking, but it will put it into the next day. Some other little notes to note is that this grid is not resizable. So you're not going to be able to resize the grid. It is kind of designed this way to get kind of the best field. So only maximizing and moving this bar will get you more real estate within the particular grids that you're looking at. So don't forget your scroll bars at the top and the bottom if you have them, if you need them. There's some other scheduling things that you'll notice that will happen if we look here in the center. This one here on the 9th for Captain Kirk, you'll notice that this one is a white appointment. That's because there's no label on it, unlike the other ones that have different colors that I've chosen to use labels. And it is in non-bold text and in black text. And that means because the estimated completion date is not around the 9th. It must be further out than that. But this one here on Henry's boat has thick blue lettering, and that's letting me know that the scheduled completion date is nearing. It's either on the 10th or on the 11th. So this is giving me heads up that this is more an important job to worry about than this particular job here. Also, jobs that have gray shading, like this one here, are estimates. You can schedule estimates on your service schedule. So if you want to schedule estimated operations for some reason, they will come on and they will be gray shaded. Down at the bottom is the technician view control. So here you notice I am viewing all my technicians. I have the option to click and go to all technicians, and this now will show me all the technicians that I have. I'm in the particular week view, so I have to scroll down and you can see I have many technicians. I could come in here and go to Tech ID and either choose from a list of technicians or typing in that technician number and just see work for Bobby Bottom this week. As well as coming into that manager field and typing in a location, one which was that clerk that I made or a different clerk ID, and see the technicians that are assigned to that particular manager. And lastly, I could come in and type in a work order number here and hit update and see all the work that is scheduled for a particular work order. It looks like only one operation. So if you want to see all the work for a particular work order, where it's scheduled for the week, the month, or the day, you can put that work order number in as well. So that walks us through the basic navigation of the system and some filters of the time scale and the technician. Next, we're going to move into how to do some scheduling. So the first way we can do is go into a particular work order. And I'm going to go ahead and open a work order here. Now on the work order, in the blue command bar is this little calendar that says schedule. You can click this while you're in the main screen, or you can click it while you are in an opcode screen. This will open up the scheduler, allowing you to look at the schedule and allowing you to decide where you want to book a particular appointment. So maybe I go to the timeline view and I want to schedule this on the 16th, and I'm going to give it to Cappy the Boatman. So I've selected that, and you can notice the blue shading, and I can right click and say new appointment. That will load up the appointment screen, and it will preload the work order ID number. And because I'm on an opcode, it's going to fly open that opcode. I can see that I already have some scheduled work here for Bobby Bottom and Freddie Fiberglass. Maybe I need additional tech to help with this work, so I can go ahead and click in the tech field. It's going to auto-populate it with the tech ID number of 10, because that was Cappy the Boatman's box that I've clicked in. And I can hit enter. It already populates it by the dates. I can put how many hours I expect this job to be. I can set his start time. And if I wish to put a label on it, I can drop down and put a particular label on that. Hitting the update button will update that particular appointment. You do have the option to also schedule these other two if you wish to at this time, so you don't have to just be stuck to that one. And you have a view here of time that is, in this case, viewed by opcode. You can also see all the time that is scheduled on here by your different technician on each opcode. And now we'll see here that job is now scheduled on the service scheduler. So from the work order, you can use the button up here. This will fly open the opcode. If you do it from the main screen, it's going to do the same thing. It's going to open up the service scheduler, right click and say new appointment. But in this case, it's not going to fly open any of the opcodes because it doesn't know which one I want to schedule. You can right click on the grid header though and choose expand all, and that will show you all the opcodes, and we can see here all the opcodes that are out here that I need to schedule and which ones are not. Looks like this one I'm not scheduling, but I can go ahead and schedule it if I need to. While we're on this screen, there's a few things to talk about that are important on the opcode that will translate over to the service scheduler. The first thing is standard hours display here on the operation. So if you're not using that standard hours field on the opcode, it's a good place now to be putting the how many hours you're expecting this opcode to take, so you know how many hours that you need to book your employees for, as well as the type is being displayed here. And it will also work with the estimated start and stop dates as well. That works not so much in the scheduling, but as I told you before, using the blue lettering and the bold lettering, letting you know if it's near that ended date. Another way to schedule, so let's go ahead and get out of this work order. I'm going to save service scheduler, and I'm just going to go to a timeline view in this case, and then I'm going to right click. I'm going to go to the 16th, right click and say new appointment, and this will bring up the appointment window but not pre-populated with a work order. And now I'll just be able to pull up that work order that I need to schedule, seeing the information in here, flying open these by clicking on them or right clicking, and then go ahead and schedule that particular work. Once scheduling, you can manually type in the tech ID number, or you can click, hold, and drag and drop the tech ID in there as well. You can put in the estimated hours that you want again, your start time. It will auto-calculate your stop time off the number of hours, and a label if you wish, and update. One thing that you might want to use, there's a unscheduled report that you can run. You'll notice it's at the bottom of the service menu. This report you can customize. It's just like a regular DockMaster report, and it's going to return all operations that are unscheduled. So if you want to generate this report, have a printed copy of unscheduled work, you can do that, and then you can go through that and start scheduling it. Another way I find really handy to do scheduling is if I right click on a particular field, I can go into what's called unscheduled operations. Now, in the beginning, this is going to take a minute for you to load because you're loading all your unscheduled ops, and I have a lot of unscheduled ops out there. After you get more caught up and you have everything on the service schedule, this will load a little bit faster for you. And here are all the unscheduled operations that I currently have. It's letting me know what's late according to the estimated start and stop dates. It's letting me know if I'm waiting for parts according to special ordering. And then it's showing everything that is unscheduled in white. In this particular field, you can use the power of the DockMaster grids to help search for things. So up here, I can come to the status window and click on it and sort it, or right click and decide a sorting order. I could even come in here and hover over the header, and you'll notice there's a funnel in the upper right hand corner. So I can drop down and say I want all my late work, and then I could come over maybe to the type and say I want all my late retail work. You can also do things like right clicking on this field and coming into the show find panel. That puts that little find panel that we're getting all used to in a lot of the grids. And I might be able to come in here and say, I want all the late, retail, and anything that has the word bilge in it. Other ways that you might want to use this is you can come out here and choose the opcode drop down and choose, say, I want all my 1,000 jobs, and choose and view those opcodes. Also note that there are a bunch of columns here. You can scroll over, so there are more columns over here. And these columns are adjustable. So if I wanted to move maybe category description over, I can click, hold, and drag it over. Just note, it's not going to save this layout or the filters. So next time you come in, you're going to have to reapply them and redo the columns. But it does help for you to go ahead and set yourself up if you're going to do a lot of scheduling, bulk scheduling. And then it's just a matter of coming in, clicking the job you want to schedule. If you clicked on a particular tech, it will preload for you, and it will load the date that you had. Go ahead and enter your number of hours that you expect the job to work. If you have half hours that you want, you can do 3.5. I'm going to start at 9 a.m. and no label, and I'm just going to hit the update button, and that will update it. You'll notice that this operation will drop off from the list after I update, and I can just continue updating other operations that I might have on the particular service scheduler. So it still stays open, still stays with my same filters, and now I can go ahead and we can enter in another one. And if I need to change the technician, I can go ahead and change that technician as well and continue updating. So you can use the grid functionality to help narrow down the list of things that you need to schedule. You can also use the unscheduled report to find that. And then, of course, you can schedule from the work order, and you can create a single work order appointment. When you're on the particular screen, each operation that is scheduled, you can right-click on that, and you can edit the individual operation appointment, or you can edit the entire work order appointment. This entire work order appointment is really handy because it will open up and show you all the opcodes on it. As I said, entire work order, where if I had just said edit appointment, it's only going to really bring up the one appointment. So I don't see the other opcodes. So that's all depending on how, again, you're doing your organization. Another handy view is if you right click in any of the days that you want to look at, you can look at a daily detail view. Right now it's showing me by order in work order, but I like to look at this view by operation. And in here I can see down here my technicians, and I can see that I got Cappy's got 12 hours, Freddie's only got 7, Bobby's got 7, Danny's got 6.5. And I can see what operations are out here scheduled. This purple scheduled completion means that all the opcodes on a work order are scheduled. So it's giving you the heads up on that. And if it's late, it's giving us the heads up that they are late. Note that from here, you can come in and view any of the appointments. You can adjust the labels in this particular view if you have any need to adjust the labels. But if you're going to need to adjust an appointment, you're going to have to go out to the appointment. You can't adjust the appointment here. You can also print grid, which you can do from any of our screens. So here, if you wanted to print that grid, you can go ahead and print this particular grid if you needed to print it out. And you can adjust the view of your technician here as well. Some other notes to talk about today is that the service scheduler, if the labor is marked as finished or closed, so if the opcode is marked as labor finished or closed, it will remove the appointment from your schedule. So we are not keeping appointments that are in the past that have been finished and closed. You're only going to have past appointments that have yet to be finished or closed. So if I go back 2 weeks by using the back arrow, I'm going to use the bottom left one, but you can use the top one as well. All these that are prior to the 9th have yet to be finished or closed, so I know that their work outstanding. And then maybe I want to go ahead and move them to a new day, which you can just do by clicking, dragging. Also, when you're scheduling any of the appointments, you can schedule these appointments for multiple days too. So if I come into this particular appointment and I need to have this technician working on this job, he's going to work on it for 3 days. Maybe he's going to work on it from 2 to 5 every day for 3 hours. Go ahead, put that appointment in there, put the long dates in there, and that will schedule that appointment over the 3 days. And you can see it now has 3-day appointments that are scheduled over that particular time. A couple other little tips and tricks and things is if you're not using internal work orders, you may want to create an internal work order that allows you to assign PTO. So if Cappy tells me that he wants to be on PTO on Thursday the 18th, in my world, I can go ahead and say new appointment. And I have an internal work order that I create that I can select my monthly internal work order. I have PTO time on here. And I can say he's going to take 8 hours of PTO time from 9 to 5 and schedule his PTO time. So although it will allow me to schedule things on his day, it's going to give me that PTO time and have that PTO time on it. If you do not have any, if your technicians are not all billed out, or you wish to have maybe a holding technician or waiting for parts technician, feel free to create those technicians in the file maintenance file, technicians. And you can go ahead and create a technician. Maybe it's one that is a hold waiting for parts technician, or maybe it's an unscheduled operation technician, and maybe that's where you're putting all your unscheduled ops first into, so then you can drag and move them. So you can go ahead and create your technicians if you need to make some fake technicians to do scheduling that helps you with your organization. There's also a nice report out here under service management called the technician schedule report. Here's a view of this particular report using the fields that DockMaster gave me, but you can add and remove those fields. And this is by day in this particular case, so it's showing me all the work Bobby Bottom's doing, all the work that Freddie Fiberglass and Danny Diesel. And this could be a report that you run at the end of the day, generate it, hang it up in the shop, and the guys come in the morning and they see exactly what work you have scheduled for them for the day. So this work order schedule report is a very handy report. You can find that here under the technician schedule report, the bottom of the service menu. And if you wish, you can set whatever day you want. You can set the sorting functionality like normal, as well as any data that you want to return on that report, and save it as a custom report that you can run daily as well. Those I find are the easiest way to print out what the technicians are doing. We do have a print button here which will allow you to print out the different views, especially maybe going down into, let's say, a particular day view here. And I can go ahead and print the day view. I will say, though, that this print functionality has not been flushed out. So like Cam said, we are really looking for your feedback and your input on how you would like to see this software, what direction you would like to see it go, what would be helpful for you. And so we didn't spend a lot of time on the print setup and how to print this particular view. So coming in here, you're going to need to do some tweaking of the days and the hours of what you want to print, because it definitely does not work well. And I would definitely come in and change some of the font sizes, but it can work. You just need to play around with it, I would suggest, and tweak it and see what works best, what ways that you can tweak this page setup so that we can print it out. You can see, it prints it out, but I'm not sure that it's fully as cool as it could be, right? Probably need to change it to landscape page would be better. That would help. So those are things we're looking for your feedback on. But that technician schedule report, I think, would be really helpful. Okay? The best thing that we can suggest is that you get into the service scheduler and that you definitely play around with it. You test out some different things, see what works, what doesn't work for you, and then go to the ideas portal. If you don't have it, you can get a login by going to ideas@dockmaster.com and get on here and start reading other ideas. You can see here is one about work order time entry. You come in here, read this particular person's comments. You can add your comments to it, as well as vote it if you think it's a good idea. So I'll leave you with that note. If you have any questions, feel free to post them. You can post them on the Ideas portal. You could, if you have some serious questions or need help, you can always get us at support at DockMaster, or if you need training, you can reach us at training@dockmaster.com. We hope that this will be a good tool for you in the future, and we look forward for your feedback. Thank you very much. Some questions are coming in. So there's a question about changing the default start time. Unfortunately, it's set to 7 p.m. right now, so there is no ability to change that. That's definitely something that I know that the developers want to be able to let you do. So we'll be looking at that. The job does fall off the schedule if the technician marks the job as finished. So if your technicians are going in and recording their time and marking it finished, or you're doing it on a time card entry, wherever you might be going in and marking it finished, once you mark it finished, it will drop off the schedule. Or any other, let's see. At this point in time, the finished, so the question if it's changeable, at this point in time, it doesn't, so you should definitely have a conversation now with the service scheduler what the finished means. But yes, that's the way it does work. So there's a question about the top 2 or 3 benefits of using Service Schedule. I would say, the biggest thing is getting yourself organized in a digital format, depending on how you do your scheduling. It's kind of hard. I could see to be able to print out a report. Actually, let me answer it this way and say that think the best way is to set an expectation to your service techs, letting them know the workload that you have for them for the day, so that the technician understands that they need to, you know, get the work done, because these work jobs need to get done because there's going to be more work tomorrow, and they have a better understanding of the expectation of the workload that's coming, and being able to show them visually what you have scheduled and what you need to have scheduled, and being able to print that out and showing them, this is what I'm expecting you to do today. This is what I'm expecting you to get done. I think there's a great power in communicating that to your employees so they understand their expectations. So on the schedule, unfortunately, which was one of the ideas that I want to see, is to be able to right click here and go to the work order. So there is no functionality yet to do that. Um, we're really only seeing here just the basic information on the service scheduler. So I think that's a great. The question was, can we enter updates to the job from the scheduler? Can we read details of the job or progress of the opcodes from the scheduler? And at this time, there is none of that functionality. But I definitely think that's a great idea. If you put it out on the ideas portal, I will make sure and go and vote on it for you, because I think that that would be a great feature to be able to come in here and right click on this particular operation and go to that work order, and or maybe view comments on that work order or something would be a really nice functionality. But that's where we need your input, and so we can build it in software at the ideas portal. Any other questions? Clerks can share text, yes. So you can definitely overlap those texts. You can see my texts have Bobby Bottom, and if I go to a different clerk, location 1, uh, Bobby Bottom, I believe, is still, yep, Bobby Bottom's there too. So you can definitely share text. And just remember too that the service schedule, you're not going to break anything on the work order. You're really not going to be, you're not doing anything accounting wise within DockMaster with the service schedule. It's really just an organization tool similar to your report generators. So go ahead, get in there, play with it, test it, try it, do different things, and go in and have fun with it and see how it can make your life better. And don't be afraid of it.